Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Daniel Liu, a commercial real estate broker in Toronto. Today, we're gonna talk about something that comes up in almost every lease negotiation. Tenant Improvement Allowance, or Tenant Allowance for short. If you are a business owner, a landlord, or an investor, understanding how tenant allowance works can make or save you tens of thousands of dollars in a deal. So let's break it all down. What it is, when landlords offer it, how it's written in the lease, and what you should watch out for. A tenant allowance is money that the landlord provides to the tenant to help pay for renovations or improvements inside the lease space. For example, if you're opening a restaurant, gym, or retail store, you'll likely spend tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars building out the interior, such as flooring, lighting, plumbing, HVAC upgrades, and more. A tenant allowance helps cover part of these costs. Sometimes it's also called Tenant Improvement Allowance, TIA, Leasehold Improvement Allowance, or Build-Out Credit. Essentially, it is a negotiated incentive that helps tenants move in faster and reduce their upfront expenses, while also helping landlords secure long-term tenants. However, landlords don't just give away money. There's always strategy behind it. Here's where landlords are more likely to offer a tenant allowance. New development or vacant property. When a space has been sitting empty, especially for a long time, landlords use TA to attract tenants. Long-term lease. For 5, 10, or 15-year terms, the landlord has time to recover the cost through rent. Strong tenants, national chains, franchisees, or financially solid tenants are safer bets for landlords. Competitive market. In high vacancy areas, TA is a way to stay competitive. From the landlord's perspective, it's an investment. They help improving their own buildings because most leasehold improvements stay with the property after the tenant leaves. And it's also a marketing tool. A well-finished space is easier to lease to the next tenant. I have summarized the pros and cons for both the tenants and the landlords in the summary table as follows. Have a look and you'll see if tenant allowance will help you in your case. A common mistake tenants make is assuming the allowance is free money. It's not. Landlords often recover it by charging slightly higher rent or extend the lease term to spread the cost. So always look at the total cost of occupancy, not just the allowance amount. Now let's look at how it's written in the lease. A typical tenant allowance clause will include, first of all, allowance amount. For example, 30 per square foot or $100,000 maximum. And secondly, scope of work. That defines what improvements qualify. Flooring, plumbing, HVAC, and could be more specific. Thirdly, payment method. Landlord usually reimburses after the completion and the proof of payment. Number 4, timing. Payment may occur after occupancy or after an inspection. 5, proof required. Tenants must submit invoices, receipts, lien waivers, and contractor statements to satisfy the landlord. 6, expiry clause. Allowance expires if not used within a certain time frame, for example, 6 or 12 months. Now, how do you make sure you will get paid? If the landlord fails to pay the allowance, the lease should specify remedies. For example, the tenant can offset the amount against rent or pursue reimbursement through legal means. That's why it's crucial to have a clear payment schedule, inspection rate, and documentation requirements stated in the lease. Always have your lawyer or broker review the clause before signing, because once it's signed, enforcing unclear language can be costly. Now here's some expert tips for you. First of all, ask early. Bring up the allowance in your first negotiation round. Know your cost. Get contractor to get a quote before you even agree on the allowance amount. Structure it smartly. Sometimes a landlord will do the build out themselves, which may be easier. Fourthly, document everything. Keep copies of all invoices, drawings, and payment proofs. And lastly, think long term. Don't take a short lease just to save on renovations. Amortize your investment over time. Now have a look at this. Part of a lease agreement that we recently closed with a client. This is a 60,000 square foot warehouse, whereas the landlord is giving the tenant a one-time leasehold improvement allowance of $300 per square foot, up to a maximum 1,000 square foot. That is, the tenant will receive $300,000 in total, plus tax. This allowance is meant to help to pay for tenant's construction of the office area for up to 1,000 square foot. But remember, this is only a very small portion of the lease agreement. There's a couple pages following that to outline the conditions of the TA allowance. Tenant allowance can be a win-win when negotiated properly. It helps tenants get started faster and helps landlords enhance their property value. If you are negotiating a new commercial lease, whether you're a tenant or landlord, I can help you structure your deal the right way. You can reach me anytime now, or if you have questions, feel free to ask me anytime. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more commercial real estate insights every week. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.